The bottom 80% has gotten significantly poorer since the pandemic began, and this is creating a Robin-Hood mentality all over America. Michael Snyder reports, the rich have been getting richer, poorer have been getting poorer, and this is causing all sorts of societal problems, as we can understand. Thanks to social media, the poor can see the incredible influence that the wealthy are enjoying, and they're deeply envious. Of course, it certainly does not help that flaunting wealth has become one of the favorite pastimes of the wealthy. Many of them love to post photos and videos of their luxurious lifestyles. Even poor people are doing it, what they're eating every day. I see it in the shanty town of Kapotai here in Greece. I mean, it's bizarre. Maybe it makes them feel better, makes them feel like little heroes, obviously. So that's what they're doing on social media, enjoying flaunting it. Of course, it certainly does not help. Flaunting wealth has become one of the favorite pastimes of the wealthy. Many of them love to post photos and videos of their luxurious lifestyle on social media accounts, and that's not a good thing because times have not been good for most of the country. In fact, a brand new study from the Federal Reserve has discovered that the bottom 80% have lower bank deposits and other liquid assets compared to their status in March of 2020. As of June, the bottom 80% of households by income, when adjusted for inflation, had lower bank deposits and other liquid assets compared to their status in March 2020. The decline marks a significant shift from the initial phases of the pandemic, where various factors included government financial support and restricted spending opportunities during lockdowns led to an accumulation of excess savings. In other words, the vast majority of all Americans have been getting poorer. And this goes worldwide, of course. But anyway, going back to this, meanwhile, the rich have just kept on getting even richer. The Federal Reserve, along with Bloomberg calculations, identified a rapid drawdown of these excess savings, particularly stark among the lower income groups. While all income groups have experienced a decrease in real-term cash balances from the peak in 2021, the disparity is noteworthy. The wealthiest one-fifth of households still have cash savings approximately 8% above their pre-COVID levels. In stark contrast, the poorest two-fifths have witnessed an 8% decrease, and the next 40%, broadly representing the middle class, have seen their cash savings fall below pre-pandemic levels. Right now, the gap between the wealthy and the rest of us is the greatest that it's ever been in the entire history of our nation. According to a different report that was just put out by the Labor Department, average hourly earnings are lower today than they were when Joe Biden first entered the White House. Millions of Americans have received a pay cut over the past 2 years, thanks to high inflation, a blow to President Biden as he attempts to center his re-election campaign around Bidenomics. The Labor Department reported Tuesday that average hourly earnings for all employees was $11.05 in October, a 3.32% decline from $11.43 figure January 2021 when Biden took office. As the pace of layoffs picks up, soon millions of Americans won't have a job to go to at all. And this week, we learned that Citigroup has begun large-scale layoffs. One of the U.S. top banks will begin massive layoffs on Wednesday to corporate overhaul as the company seeks to trim its operating expenses to levels more in line with its competitors, according to CNBC. Citigroup will begin cutting employees on Wednesday, with new terminations continuing to be announced through next week, affecting some chiefs of staff, managing directors, and lower-level employees, according to CNBC. Following the initial round of layoffs, more employees in less senior positions are expected to be dismissed in February, with the layoffs being expected to be fully completed by March 2024. And Stellantis has just announced that it has offered buyouts to approximately half of their salaried employees. Stellantis, one of the big three U.S. automakers, on Monday offered buyouts to about half of its salaried employees as it looks to cut costs as it transitions to electric vehicles, EVs, and takes on increased costs from a new union contract. The parent company of major car brands like Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram offered voluntary buyouts to about 6,400 of its roughly 12,700 salaried employees, that's about half, who are not represented by a union and have at least 5 years of experience. Employees who accept the incentive will depart the company before the end of this year, December. And as economic conditions have deteriorated, crime has soared. In recent days, I've written about the shocking thefts that we're witnessing all over the nation, but this one tops them all. This is a shocking moment of a mob looting FedEx truck while it was stopped at a red light in Memphis, Tennessee. Can you imagine? Around 8:30 p.m. Saturday, a 53-foot trailer was ransacked while it sat in traffic in the intersection of Riverport Road and West Mallory Avenue. And after the driver reported the theft, the Memphis police arrived and saw vehicles speeding away recklessly along with a number of boxes thrown across the road. The FedEx truck had nowhere to go because once it reached the intersection, there were cars that suddenly moved into position to block it. This is amazing. Now, in my brand new book entitled Chaos, I specifically warned people to avoid Memphis if at all possible. And it's become one of the most dangerous cities in the entire country. But of course, we all started to see these sorts of crimes everywhere. Large groups of people decided that it's okay to take from the rich and the corporations, and they have control that they control, give it to the poor themselves, that is, because the rich probably exploited the poor to get their wealth in the first place. This is a sort of Robin-Hood mentality, and it's extremely dangerous, and it's rapidly spreading. And now we have an election season, a war in the Middle East, and add fuel to the fire. On Thursday, a crazed group of protesters shut down the entire Bay Bridge. A well-coordinated group of hundreds of pro-Palestine protesters shut down the Bay Bridge on Thursday morning, tying up traffic during rush hour, calling out the world leaders to end the war in Gaza during the APEC summit. A 4-hour chaotic event, which started at 7:45 in the morning, ended with at least 70 arrests and 29 towed cars. All lanes finally reopened just before noon, but not after at least 200 protesters chained themselves together and purposefully tossed their car keys into the bay. How would they get back home? I can imagine. This is terrible. Stalling efforts. I'm going to tell you what happened to my grandchild. Stalling efforts to reopen the span to frustrated drivers, I have to tell you, just to make you laugh, okay? My little one, I have 4 grandchildren. The little one is going to be a year old tomorrow. She loved playing with her mother's car keys. So they lost the car keys 2 or 3 days ago. They lost the car keys one afternoon. They didn't know where the car keys went. And they had to take the car somewhere, and they couldn't find the keys. And they called one of their friends over that was visiting them that afternoon saying, we lost our car keys. And the friend said, oh, I saw the baby taking them into the bathroom. So the baby accidentally threw the car keys in the toilet bowl. Thank goodness they were still there. They weren't flushed away. Oh, my goodness. So I can imagine these people that threw their car keys into the bay. How would they move their cars? Unless they had a second, obviously, foresight, they may have had a second set of keys on them. But going back to this, needless to say, he says this is just the beginning. The war in the Middle East is going to continue to escalate, and 2024 will be the most chaotic election year that any of us have ever seen by far. So buckle up and hold on tight, because we're going to see staggering levels of civil unrest and crime in 2024 and beyond. And this is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, my name is Michael. My brand new book entitled Chaos is now available on paperback and Kindle on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 7 other books available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning Again, and Living a Life That Really Matters, commissioned earned. And when you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing. And one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so you won't miss any of my articles. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the most important news. And the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. This is by Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.